So this is the first panel discussion today. I presume we have 1 hour time, and we'll try to stick within the time. So we have 4 panelists here. They've been introduced. In the interest of time, I'm not getting into a reintroduction again. But what we are talking about is just trying to get a feel about the topics being touched upon. We always ask this question, why are we so low in shipbuilding? Just 0.6% of the global shipbuilding. Then the questions that come to our mind is like, what to be done to make India a major shipbuilding hub? Has something changed in the last decade, or what has changed in the last decade? What could be key challenges, and how do we try to exploit the so-called opportunities? And then the sustainability factor, because we talk about sustainability continuously. So touching upon a little bit of the past, why we are so low, because let's admit it that 0.6% is not something which we are happy about. I thought rather than dwelling upon the subject, I've already had my thoughts conveyed a bit at the inaugural. What I would try to do is, since we are having 4 panelists, we'll just go through the panel members, and what I would request is, like, because it's a large topic, so if you can just construe your thoughts, and then if you feel there are certain large themes or large pointers which has actually inhibited India in this direction, and any such large themes or areas which has actually helped China, Japan, and Korea. If you can just touch upon what you feel is your thoughts. And then we'll come back and then have it. So if I can start with Mr. Pankaj Chadha.
Morning everyone, and thank you The Week magazine for inviting me to this panel discussion, and thank you sir. So if broad theme, so one I would say is the support of the government. It's like whole of the nation approach in pushing shipbuilding, whether it is in Japan or Korea or China, and we can dive deeper later. So that is one. And second is the availability of manpower when they actually embarked on the journey of shipbuilding construction. So right now, pass on to my. So these are the 2 broad themes which I thought I'll just share with.
We all know that our contribution in shipbuilding is only 0.1% of the total global output, whereas China is the major contributor to the shipbuilding GT. There are many factors for the success of China. We all know that long-standing sustainable policy measures are required for winning this, and we are plagued by supply chain resilience, whereas China has got a very good maritime supply ecosystem. The second factor is that they are devoting a lot of money and energy on research and development. We lack a lot in this. Regarding the skill development, even though we have got welders and other welders, fitters, and general workers, we are poor in terms of specialized skills like propulsion system, integration, commissioning, and all. And major shipbuilding nations like China, Korea, and Japan contribute to about 85% of the total GT produced in the world, and they dwarf us. Our capability, if you look in terms of the GT produced, is 0.1 million GT, or the highest over the last 10 years, whereas the output of China is around 33 million GT.
So Hari, essentially what you're touching upon is supply chain, R&D, and specialized skill sets. Hari?
Thank you. So you asked about the historically why we have been low. In fact, if we really look at the shipbuilding history, which emerged after the Second World War, and when these the vessels which were constructed in US for war were being used for commercial and they were to be replaced, that's when Japan came into the industry. They saw an opportunity, and in fact, that time we had other priorities. India had other priorities. And then from Japan to Korea and to China, and all the while, we never actually considered shipbuilding as a strategic industry. And there's one good point about it is a ship has an average life of, let's say, 20 to 25 years. And after the Second World War, we have almost passed this 3 life cycle, and we are now looking at this 4th major life cycle where we are it's predominantly driven by the regulatory environment, because we have a target of 2050 where we are targeting net zero. We cannot really use any of the designs or any of the equipment which were there in the previous years. So right now, when India is looking ahead, we have a market which has to be created, and we actually can see the ships that are to be replaced, maybe 50 to 60,000 of ships. So we can just forget the history because it was a different set of ships. It was a different set of
I'll
market.
probably come to that because
Yes.
that's a very major point. But if you can hear from Captain Ankur also.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Captain Ankur Arora. So my fellow panelists have already touched on those topics. I'll take the commercial point of view, right? Are we connecting to the market? Because Madhu Saab in the starting said, understand shipping, right? And what does that mean? Understanding shipping. You know, the super cycle is actually behind us now. We are probably at the top of the super cycle. This is one of the odd super cycles which are really long. We're still seeing a lot of orders. So we missed it, to be honest. 2007, 2008, 2009, last super cycle, and now we have it from last 3 years. I have just one figure here which I would like to bring. You know, last year we were talking about feeder vessels. 126 feeder units were ordered up to date in 2025. And this is sub 3,000 TEUs, right? And the average charter rate of a feeder vessel is $39,000, which is one of the highest since I started my career in the last 25 years. So are we listening to the market? Are we connecting to the market, syncing our vision with the market? Because when you are ready for shipbuilding, maybe the market is not the same. We'll talk about it when more, yeah.
Sure.
So quickly, I thought I'll just elaborate. So when I said government support, that is one major thing. The other thing is all these countries have export orientation. So while in our case, we are a consumption-driven economy. So we import more as compared to export. Now this orientation, whole thing is changing. So the lack of demand, that is the second issue which in a way plagued us. The third is the scale. So because of our labor policies, all private sector companies, they are kind of scared to expand the scale because shipbuilding industry is a cyclical industry. And the cycles sometimes go into negative for a longer time. So what to do with the labor? And all these things have kind of stopped us from, building a better capacity or a higher capacity in the shipbuilding. So I thought I'd just mention.
So what's coming as a large themes, again, the whole of the nation, or a government-involved approach, which sees this, as Hari brought out, when he says India never saw this as strategic, I think the corollary is that others saw it as strategic. The export orientation, the low-cost capital requirements, which again, we didn't have, the others had. The scale build-up, because of these reasons, the scale build-up didn't happen. What Harikrishnan told, the supply chain probably didn't happen because of that. The investments in R&D could have happened even without that, but that didn't happen. The skill sets didn't happen because the other things didn't fall in place. So and what Ankur said very interestingly, do we have the depth of understanding of the business? Now this is a very interesting take because we'll have to come back and say, are Indians good at, when we are talking about the country, was it the government or was it as Indians? and whether Indians are good in shipping, we'll come back again on this point. But again, since we are touched upon what could be the large pointers, then the next question is, again, very subtly, do you think that there is a change or there's a narrative being built up? I just want to pause at that narrative. Is a narrative emerging? And if that is a way, rather than being wishy-washy about it, if we can put it as largely positive or largely negative or neutral, I would like to understand from each one of you, where are you on that? Again, let me put in, is a global order that the new geo-economic and the geopolitical situations, the demographics which I just alluded to earlier, like India as a holistic economy, the growth, the development of India into the future, because naturally the country has to be there. So are these things helping us? And if you can just try to put your ranking in one of these categories across this area. So you can take a little bit more time, but then this is we are talking into the future there.
Okay. So at L&T, we believe that the narrative which is getting built up is largely positive, and the reason is the number of visits which are happening from the stakeholder from abroad, which at least we have never experienced over last decade or so that we have been in operation. The kind of demand which is existing in the world, the strategic necessity which Indian government is giving to this sector because of and the naval shipbuilding, the kind of programs which are coming one after another is just mind-boggling. And hence, we have a very deep belief that we are at the cusp of a upturn. Now we have this demographic dividend, China +1. This is a window of opportunity for us. And one, at the government level, and second, industry per se, we ourselves have to actually put our head together and see to it that this time we don't miss this particular opportunity. So thanks.
Obviously, restructuring and revitalization is happening in the Indian shipbuilding industry. Even MOPSW has got a 4-pillar approach in terms of shipbuilding financial assistance, maritime development fund, capacity and capability enhancement, and policy reforms. If you look at the projected economic growth of the country and the projected seaborne trade, there will be obviously an increase in the commercial fleet capacity. Now it is about 13.6 million GT in terms of the capacity. By 2030, as per our MAKV targets, MAEV targets, it is obviously increasing to 36 million GT and 100 million GT by year 2047. So this will throw open a lot of opportunities, and because about 70% of the ship to be built in India if you want to achieve this capability. So as per the MIV 2030 vision, India has to become the 10th rank in shipbuilding, and as per MAKV 2047, the 5th rank. So now, as I said, the capacity is 0.1 million GT. It has to increase by 0.6 million GT by 2030 and about 4.5 million GT by 2047. In the inland navigation and coastal shipping also, many opportunities are emerging. And the green shipping also gives us a lot of opportunities. So I am of the sense that this will throw open a lot of opportunities for India.
Okay. So you're believing in the policies being discussed these days, and you feel that overall it's positive. I think I'm not sure whether Hari or Ankur, who is the youngest on the dais here, but then I can see you can bring in age also here, because you can actually be a bit critical also. You don't have to go with the tide, but just bring out what you feel.
Thank you. the narrative, whatever I have been in this industry, for the last 20 years, I've really seen how the policy framework and the regulatory push and the leadership level changes, it has never been this forceful. And this much follow-up never happened before. That's very clear. Now, taking from the information that Mr. Harikrishnan said, we have now set targets. We have the first target of being in the top 10 by 2030. Now, what does it really mean? It means, if you really look at today's shipbuilding market, it means we should be building about 1 to 1.5 million GT in 2030. And it's not just 1 year. From there, every year, we should either do that much or more, so that by 2047, we are somewhere in the range of 7 to 8 million GT or somewhere close to 10 million GT, achieving our target of being in the top 5 shipbuilders in the world. Now, I am from the ship design industry. When we look at this target, if I convert this 1 million GT to ship, and if we take an MR tanker, 180-meter vessel, we are talking about building maybe 30 to 35 MR tankers a year, okay? And if we really look at India's present shipbuilding, last year we were just below 100 million GT. And so we have to build up capacity in terms of docks and shipyards. We have to build up designs. And that's where it's of very much interest to us. It's not just as a ship design company, but I think as a generation of people who are looking at this industry as the future. Because when we say 1 million GT of shipbuilding, we are talking about a manpower requirement of, let's say, about 30 to 35,000 people, of which about 15% are to be engineers. We need probably 30, 35% welders. And this is a huge opportunity. And in general, anybody who has been in Indian industry, we see there is continuous outflow of people, because it's not just us. Korea need welders, and they are looking at India to get these welders. Even Japan might require people from here. Everybody is looking India as a source of people. So we have a lot of opportunity. And when it comes to designs, as I initiated previously, none of the existing designs actually fit to the future of industry. So we have tremendous amount of opportunity. The positivity is there, and policy framework is there. But then we have to realize where we really stand. And in 2030, if we have to really build, let's say, 30 or 25 MR tankers, and if we think that we have a building berth which can be used for keel laying to launching 4 months. So we are talking about, let's say, per year we can push out 4 vessels from one unit. So we are talking about 8 such docks or slipways that is required. And we all know how much is there and how much capacity we have. So if we can really, and another good thing about this shipbuilding is, there is time. If we are talking about, say, 26 months or 30 months shipbuilding schedule, from the time we sign the contract to where you can start shipbuilding, the actual physical construction, there is time. So if we are talking about an MR again, if we have, let's say, 8,000 tons of steel, and if we can do 1,000 tons of steel conversion, we actually need only 8 months to convert that steel. We don't need the entire 32 months to be used for fabrication. So if we can plan well, when we start the contract, when we start the design process, you can actually start building the berth. You can actually start training people. So if there is a clear vision and clear plan, it's a really achievable thing. And
So
forward to the
what
leaders
you're saying
to do
is
that.
the opportunity looks exciting.
Yes.
So what is needed? What is the trigger? What will get this moving?
Okay, I might sound a bit partial here. I think we have to seriously look at design. Because, again, traditionally, if you look back in what we have done in shipbuilding.
No, again, where does the money come? Who places the orders for the ships? Do you need ship orders on the table? Where is the risk levels? Because would you invest in design? Would you invest in skilling without making sure I have the feeling that where we are now, you're talking about scaling up. You are painting a picture, scaling up significantly.
Yes.
And that significant
Money.
hello, it comes with significant risk levels.
Yes.
And these could be risk levels which are the probably no return back.
Yes.
You either fly or you lose your head.
Yes.
So how do you address that situation?
Actually, if you really look at 5 years back, when we have seen a lot of conflicts, Russia, Ukraine. Actually, as an individual, I never thought this will escalate like this. I thought somebody will stop this. But we are only seeing escalations. And we are also involved in developing designs with the end customer. And we have clearly heard comments like, we prefer India not just because they know that there are difficulties in building, but they prefer India for many other reasons, probably geopolitical reasons, many other reasons, because it's very difficult to predict how things will turn out. But India being a strong democracy, firm legal system, people do see as an opportunity. And again, as the shipbuilding market, we have a lot of data. We know which sector is getting old. We really don't have to worry about a sector which is presently 20-year-old. We should look at sector which is probably 12 or 14-year-old.
Can I take
Yes.
it that you're largely positive
Yes.
into the future,
Yes.
and then you feel that positive narrative is emerging?
Yes.
Captain Ankur?
Sadly, I don't agree with my fellow panelists because I would say that I'm largely neutral at the moment, and there's a reason behind it. I wrote some sentences this morning. The narrative has shifted from can India build to what and how fast can India build, right? So can is okay, but how fast and what? It's a chicken and egg story, right? Tomorrow, I come from an ex-company called BW, Bergerson Worldwide, one of the largest tanker companies in the world. Now, if the BW has to come and build in India, they need a reference list. Do we have a reference list? No. So does any foreign customer comes here and builds ships, what do they see? There's a zero reference list. And that is where the problem is.
And then can I, again, I'll come back to you again, but then I probably will have to go back to Pankaj Chadha. Why? Because he represents, on this stage, he represents Larsen and Toubro. And this is one organization which, at a point of time, like they had this caption, Imagineering India. And I think they've actually done it. So I think you have also seen those times, isn't it? 30 years back, what was L&T? So can you try to bridge this?
Yeah.
Shipbuilding, all-round positivity, feel a fair bit of neutral stance?
Yeah.
But how do you cross this bridge?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for bringing this perspective. So, what Captain Ankur Arora is talking, that as a shipyard, we don't have very good references, right? On the other side, it is a EPC business. The narrative, what we are talking, because the way the government is talking about, that is positive. Question is, how do we convert that narrative into the execution, the reality? And I think that is the gap which we are kind of talking. So one is on the demand side, where we definitely need very quick action or decision making from the government, that the aggregation of demand happens, and then they nudge all the, let's say, energy companies to ensure that the ships are built in India. The second is, any foreign company would also look at what is the cost differential between the ship being built in India vis-a-vis China or South Korea, and how do we bridge that gap? So, hello, yeah, low-cost financing and all those facilitating factors have to be there. But the important thing is what we as industry, or L&T as a company, or CSL as a company, we can do it. So we are very good in EPC business. All of us know about it. And how have we built this business? So I would put it like 2-3 pillars. Now, EPC businesses like shipbuilding are very small margin businesses. Risks are very, very high, and there is a possibility that the large projects can turn into negative in no time. So the first is the skill of the manpower. So whether it is engineering, design, whether it is the execution, right? So how do we attract talent? How do we ensure that the talent works in, like in our case, in L&T? How do we groom them to take large risks where our contracts run into billion of dollars, and that too international, because we get some 40-50% of our business from exports, which projects which we do outside. The second pillar is the finance, which means we manage our cash flows, the strength of our balance sheet where the debt is very, very low, which means we can take more risk. So that is the second pillar which is there. The third pillar is the technology orientation, which means how quickly and how better we can adapt what is happening in the world. So today we are facing though there is a demographic dividend in India, but we are facing a major challenge of labor shortage. Wherever we want labor, it is not available. Now, how do we execute projects on time? So again, technology, comes in and enables us. So there's a very strong orientation in L&T when we talk about Imagineering. So when we look at, for example, high-speed rail project which we are doing, so 120-meter length girder we did in one shot, which used to be otherwise built, in whatever, let's say we reduce the time by 1/10 in that case. So that is the third pillar. And this entire thing is then, because sustainability is very important, the culture. That's a very, very significant piece. So morning we were talking, there was a discussion where the safety is the first, then the quality, on-time delivery, and then the cost. So the whole organization works with these kind of ethos. So this is the kind of a virtuous cycle which we have tried to build, wherein we try to attract and retain the best talent. We have a financial balance sheet which can take more risk. We adapt technology very fast, that speed of decision making is very fast, and then there are ethos of our culture, what comes in priority, so that the whole organization is aligned. I think something similar could work in the shipbuilding also. We definitely need some facilitation, some nudge for some time from the government. Once we get rolling, we should be able to compete anywhere in the world. That's my belief.
Thanks a lot. So what you're saying, you brought in this mix of things, and I can see it's all long term. It's all long term, grooming for the future. You talked about culture of risk taking, technological adaptability, finance strengths, and then you can do this only if it's all long term. So shall I say that this is not a mercenary game? This is an absolute long-term game. And this long-term game, no foreigner is going to come and start it here initially. The country will have to stand up and support it to start. So this is what that country comes in. Hari, your thoughts?
I want to add 2-3 points, sir. So we know that shipbuilding is largely an assembly industry constituting multifarious manufacturing operations. So we have got a cost disadvantage of 20 to 25% compared to major shipbuilding countries, and our cycle time of construction is more compared to the developed countries. So we need to break this chain. We need to improve the productivity. If you compare the productivity, our productivity is very less, 1/6 compared to major shipbuilding nations like Japan, Korea, or China. So we want to improve our productivity. We want to resort to more automation and other activities to improve the productivity. If you look at the supply chain maturity, we have got a cost disadvantage. We have to improve the ancillary industry. We have to develop common test facilities so that the delay in procurement is not affecting the shipbuilding cycle time. To compare the design, we are largely oriented towards a telescopic type of design, whereas the need of the hour is to have an integrated shipbuilding concept in design. So all these are consuming lot of time.
Again,
And in order
you are
to be,
also
yes.
you're supporting what
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Chadha told on
Yeah.
the technology
Yeah.
automation, because only that's going to drive
So
change.
we have to resort to skill development, more
Skilling,
design,
again,
automation.
automation
And,
again,
This
tech.
is the only way to have
And
cost
you are
competitiveness.
agreeing
and-
with
yeah.
Hari on the design and engineering. Again, it calls for long.
Yes.
It's not a project-based business. It's not project-based, but you need projects to start with. Without projects, you can't move forward.
can't.
So it's a chicken and egg
Chicken and
situation
egg
to
situation.
start with. Hari, more or less the same view on because
Yes,
design,
of-
when you want to push forward with design, you want to invest, create,
Yes.
you also need a long horizon, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. And in fact, you mentioned about 90% of our trade is still happening with foreign vessels, which is maybe last 2024, it was something like 840 million GTUs, around that bulk trade, and a huge amount of containers. He mentioned about this feeder containers, and our inaugural speaker also talked about the need of feeder containers. These are all requirements which are very clear to us. So I think it's about we really acting on it. That's
And Captain Ankur, if you feel like, let's say, today we are 2025, at 2030, 32, let's say 5-7 years down the line, if there are vessels coming out of India, potentially, initially maybe for Indian clients, Indian owners, but good quality vessels built by the shipyards here, the emerging shipyards or the existing shipyards, do you think that's reasonable enough to create belief and a pull for the guys you see out there to come and start very seriously looking at India? And then would we have broken that long-term jinx so that it's really long-term than what we are talking? So is it that the government can get involved, start this aggregation of demand, given things for the next, let's say, 5, 7, 10 years, let's put it that way, and then it becomes sustainable into the future if we get our other acts together? Do you feel there's a possibility? And if in that case, would a neutral turn to positive?
No, so, there are 2-3 things here. One would be, you mentioned China +1, right? We have to focus on the segment. I'll give you a classic example. Without naming the owner, there was an owner who was looking to make a molten sulfur carrier. Very close to the owner, I was with the shipbuilding director in China. Nobody's interested to build. No one, right? It's a specialized vessel, right? But they don't make much money building it. So that is the kind of vessel we should have built in India, because that is where the opportunity is. It took us 6 months to find a yard in China to build that vessel. And that to a tier 2 yard. Tier 1 yard will not do it.
That probably didn't happen because that market connect or the market understanding was not there. Was that a reason probably?
There is no slot.
No, if a country like India also did not look into it.
Exactly. Circling back to the point where I started, we have to look to the analyst. We should have Clarksons next door, talking to them and seeing what's happening in the market, what will happen next year, and be ready for that. I wrote some stats here. We have a major advantage. Maybe audience can tell me, what would be the average age of people in Japan right now? Any guesses? Okay, so at least they know. So it's 50 years. South Korea is 45 years. China is 39 years. India is 31 years. We really have a great opportunity, right? We have a really good young generation to work.
And I always felt like being in shipbuilding for long, it's always been this flip-flops. You're not able to get your, somebody used the word consistency. When Pradeep was talking about port sector, he said ability to deliver consistently. We are never able to get it consistently because we don't have that long road in front of us. So processes and systems, which I'm sure like L&T would have put in place. So then let me just try to get into a little bit of a conclusion here, and then we can leave some time for questions. But again, if we can take a little bit of around here. what could realistically be seen, something like 5 years down the line, 2030? 2030 is coming very fast. 2030, what do you think? And that try to be as practical and as clear as possible. And if you can float something, say 10 years of 2047. These are the two areas which I think if you can just touch upon. But then 2030, what do you think could realistically happen?
Like, necessity is the mother of invention, right? It's not a choice anymore for India. We require it, as he mentioned, also because of the geopolitics. All the trade is rerouted. You know, another very interesting figure, because of the Red Sea jamming, the bunkering in Mumbai increased by 88% last year. Now that is why, because India is placed at a point where strategically it makes sense to vessels to stop and bunker. You can't bunker inside Djibouti, you can't go to Red Sea, okay, let's bunker here. So for our energy security, definitely it will happen. Now the question is how it will happen, and that's what I would like to answer here. For me, the way forward is JDPs, Joint Development Programs. Same what happened in 80s, even before I was born, you know, with the automobile industry. The same what Cochin Shipyard is trying to do. Get the foreign direct investment, get foreign yards, technology transfer, foreign designers.
So do you think 2030 you will see a few collaborative things happening in India? Is that your feel?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. The trust is building up in the world. That's what it is.
Hari, 2030, a picture of 2030.
Yeah. Actually, it's not really clear. We are trying to understand what will really happen in 2030. Because again, we have to start seeing that movement by 2027, 26, 27. This has to happen for things to really materialize in 2030. Definitely, we feel we have to bring in expertise from outside, and I think serious look at planning. Because if you really see all our projects in different shipyards, we are specialists of one of its kind of vessels. Our series constructions are really limited. Unless we get into some series construction, which has to be either tanker, bulk carrier, or container, we will never reach this volume what we are talking about.
So 2030, you feel more or less what we are doing now a little bit better. That is what you think?
Yes, unless we get into one of these
No,
series
there is no,
construction.
there's not. I'm just asking your view because.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Hari, what do you think? I'm not harping on 2030, 35.
Sir, I feel that the future is very good. The need of the hour is to have more collaborations, capability and capacity building in the meantime, and skill set development. So I see a good future by good future for India in shipbuilding by 2030.
And Chadha, 2030, would you think there will be more ships coming from India, more things happening on the ground?
I believe so. So I am assuming that 2025 government would come out the policy. Government would definitely come out with the aggregation of demand. So that means there would be a visibility of orders where companies, all the shipyards would be moving ahead to invest, whether on their own or through JVs with the Japanese or South Korean companies. The gestation period is very large. So if you get into construction of dry dock, putting cranes, and the way the market demand is there, so it may take another 2.5 years for this infrastructure to be in place. So if we could look at 5-year horizon, so we could see that there would be a capacity, there would be a visibility of orders, and we would be trying to catch up the momentum. So that's what I see. But maybe, you know, when we go another 5 years down the line, I think then the number of shipyards, and maybe we will be able to break into top 10 by that time.
Okay. So I think what's emerging here is largely positive. A few words of caution. For sure, 2025 becomes critical. We want to see things on the table, and it's very clear that the things on the table has to come from the government. It could be, as we have seen, it has to be. It's not it could be, it has to be oil sector, maybe tankers and that kind of orders. That gives a courage to talk about these long-term things. By 2030, just 31, we will see work in progress. You will see a few vessels coming out from whatever we have now. You could see collaborations starting to fructify, or again, work in progress 2030s. But definitely, it's in the first quadrant, it's moving on to right. It's moving on to right. So that's good to hear. The caveat here is very clear, 2025, this needs to happen. And I think I am also sensing it that it's come in no uncertain terms. We hope, sometimes I say that these things we may not be able to do too democratically. We'll have to discuss democratically and act autocratically here. But 2025 is very important because hopefully this month, next month, we'll see the policies being unraveled. But I think it's been a good discussion, and thanks for having these insights here. I think we have about 15 minutes time if we leave the floor open. We could take questions. If there are questions, like kindly do introduce yourself and then have the question at any other panelists. And if somebody can pass on the mics, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Sunil Kumar. I'm working as a general manager in Cochin Shipyard Limited. I would like to have clarification on one or two points. First thing, I will ask Mr. Harikrishnan. This is regarding the policies like GEM, Make in India, MSME, etc. These are the policies promulgated by Government of India. But my question is how this affects setting up a level playground between the public sector companies as well as private sector companies. Because our MIV, MIKV, etc., if you want to meet such targets, a large number of private players has to come to picture. That is the first question. Second question, I doubt whether these things, and I think I will just ask to Mr. Pankaj Chadha regarding the quality of the indigenous vendors, because whether this type of protection make them feel that, okay, we need not go much quality wise. So what is your appreciation regarding the quality of indigenous products? Thank you.
So I will answer the second question. So regarding the quality of the yard material, I agree that we are facing a lot of issues. The yard materials like pipes, valves, and other materials, we face a lot of issues. So this is an emerging situation, and once it gets matured, we will be able to tide over the situation. Then regarding the first question, I agree that it's not a level playing field. For public sector companies have to apply with the government policies. So it puts us in some sort of a non-competitiveness. I agree that.
So question was about quality of yard material, welding, supply material, supply chain. So like, Mr. Harikrishnan said, there are challenges. However, things are improving. We could definitely see there is an improvement, and at a lot of places, the yards themselves are investing in improving the quality. We have also seen that, foreign companies, they are ready to come if the demand is here. So even for the naval sector, the Make in India, which is very, very prevalent. So we have various companies who are manufacturing very good quality of valves and exporting to the other defense companies. The challenge which we are facing is that because of the competition, the kind of prices which we quote, then the margins which are there. Earlier, demand was not much, and our shipyards were not able to utilize the capacity. So the prices which were quoted very low, and to manage both the ends, so naturally this kind of issue was there. Hopefully when the demand goes up, we would be able to improve this whole ecosystem also with that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Riyadh Matthew from The Week. This question is for Mr. Madhu. He mentioned, I think all of you spoke about what you think about what's going to happen by 2030. And Mr. Madhu, I would like to hear your views on the same. You said, discuss democratically and act autocratically. Why would you say act autocratically and discuss democratically? Is there any reason for it? And also you spoke about collaborations with foreign firms in Japan, Korea, etc. Does Cochin Shipyard have anything coming up in the future? Are you thinking on those lines?
See why I mentioned about discuss democratically and act autocratically, because see, we are in the realm of possibilities. We are not solving an equation which has got only one answer. That equation can throw out multiple scenarios and multiple answers. Now, if we continuously are searching for that fine print, time is just passing. Much better would be to look at the possibilities and freeze things. And this calls for a decisive action. So whether we otherwise keep on discussing, do we need MR tankers, or should we need LR1 tankers, or should we need Suezmaxes, and should we need 20 of this and 12 of those, or 6 of the other one? This can go on for another 2 years. Rather, and at the end, these are all matters of perception, as Captain Ankur said, depth of knowledge, of understanding, and it depends with people. So have a set of people whom you trust to work in the larger interests of the country, not being partisan, and then have a go at it. Nothing largely wrong will happen. 99% good things only will happen out of it. But that decision has to happen. You are talking about partnerships. Yes, we are definitely talking about partnerships because we also feel excited about this. As we said, 2030, we have certain targets in our mind, 2035, and I feel the way we are talking, by about 2035, we should see good sense of stability in what we are talking. So we are talking about teaming up with one large Korean entity. We may start by leveraging facilities which we have in Kochi, but in Kochi we would try to have significant more facility creation which would need investments. But it's not just about infra and investments. For me, the whole core thing is about processes and systems and how you bleed the systems. Creating infra is one thing, how you maximize your effort from it. I always take this example of the railway level crossing. The railway level crossing in India and the railway level crossing in Japan is the same. Technology is the same. Signaling system are practically the same. Why is it that our level crosses have a traffic jam and the Japanese level crosses don't have a traffic jam? It's the same. We all know how to cross a traffic level cross. It's the same to cross here, to cross in Japan. It's in the processes and systems. And I think we need partnerships. We need partnerships because there is a lot for us to unlearn also. It's not just to learn, there's a lot for us to unlearn also. So that partnerships is needed. Naturally, there are technological things, skill sets. So I think partnerships would be important. And again, partnerships also helps you in bringing in synergistic relations with, I'm at least seeing the Koreans and the Japanese, they are also waiting for it. So why not? If we can create synergistic relations, we'll try to do this. So we are also positive on the whole ecosystem. I give it 20, 30, 35. Somewhere in between there, I feel we should come out. As a country, we should come out good. And I would be extremely happy to see at least a 5 organizations fronting this in India. Because without which we won't get that scale for the country. At least if a 5 organizations, it could be any 5, 5, 6 organizations fronting it in different parts of the country, then I think as a country we would have evolved.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Raj Singh here from Antara Cruises. Since we have been talking about cargo and tankers and everything, I just want to know which yards would have the capacity and capability. We have a 7,500 kilometers of coastline, and I'm talking of coastal cruise ships. Now, there is a heavy demand for it for domestic market as well as international. At present, we do not have a single coastal cruise actually operating within India. When I say coastal cruise, we're talking of Bombay. I mean, there's a Cordelia which is Bombay or to Lakshadweep and all, but that's not a coastal cruise actually, truly. A coastal cruise is something which will start from Gujarat, go all along the western coast, go then on the eastern coast, ending up in Calcutta. We do not have anything like that. But we need to build that. No overseas operator is going to come to India to operate those coastal cruises. It's the same thing when we started for river cruising. Initially, before we launched the Ganga Vilas, no one even believed that would be possible. So what I'm saying is, are the yards capable of building coastal cruises, which can be delivered in the next 5 years? Same thing I'm asking about the river cruises. Of course, we are building river cruises along with you, one after the other. But we need, let's say, 5 cruises or 6 cruises. Are there any other yards who have that capacity, capability for both the type of vessels and the timeline? Of course, there is interest for that. There's finances for that. There are people from overseas who will come and invest. That's not a problem. Problem is our own capacity and capability of building these ships in a timeline and a quality-wise fashion.
Only L&T perspective at the moment, and maybe sir would give the industry perspective. So until now, we had entered into commercial shipbuilding, and we did some very complicated ships, and we lost a lot of money. Then management said, we should shift to naval side. So we actually entered into defense. Today, at Kattupalli, Chennai, we have some 800 acres of land. There's a 150 acres which we are utilizing now. There's almost 500 to 600 acres which is actually lying for expansion. Now, once we know that there is a demand and we are able to put the right kind of ecosystem in place, definitely we would have a keen interest. Capacity could be developed very fast. Today, the whole capacity we have built for the Navy, but possibility does exist. That is how I will put it. And as we are now moving towards commercial shipbuilding and all these things are being seen seriously, this could also be done. Definitely it could be done.
I would also think if the sort of demand is aggregated and properly positioned, I would think there are at least 3 to 5 shipyards in India which can actually be keen on such projects. It is a possibility.
Thank you.
Commodore Rajiv Sridharan from Garden Reach Shipbuilders, sir. All the top shipbuilders are here today. You talked about demand, talked about capacity, we talked about partnership. Now the partnerships at a global scale, shipyards in India, and global leaders in shipbuilding. Any prescription, open to everybody, sir, any prescription for synergy between the big yards in the country and the smaller shipbuilders as a nation, let's say a resource of the nation? Any prescription for that way ahead? Meet the demands that are obviously emerging, and we know it exists.
I can share my perspective here. We can't partner just for the sake of partnering. We need to partner if I have negatives and somebody else has strengths which can plug that, and they have certain negatives which I can plug. It's sometimes very difficult to find such partners, but sometimes such partnerships do emerge. We have seen that happening in the past. We have reached out. I won't name them, but at least to 2 shipyards where we felt for certain type of works, certain type of requirements, we felt that we had our weaknesses and we thought somebody else could complement it, and vice versa. Whether it will work out or not, the markets will also decide. But then partnering has to be done very cautiously, because partnering is not just, it's not just 1 + 1. If it's 1 + 1, then you don't have to partner, because then it's only subcontracting. But if you are partnering, then there is a cultural fit also. And for me, partnering has to be long-term. You can't partner on projects. Partnering on projects, again, is subcontracting. So whatever Cochin Shipyard has tried to do, when we try to reach out to partners, or when any business we get into, we look at it. For me, if it's not 20 years, if it does not have the potential to go 20 years, whether it will go 20 years is another question, but if it doesn't have the potential to go 20 years, then probably it's not worth it. But I'm fierce supporter of partnering in various modes.
May I add something here? Again, when we were looking at the Indian existing capacity, and when we were looking at what we can do, what is required and what we can do, we feel always when we talk about shipbuilding, we are thinking of building an entire shipyard. Whereas now we have Cochin Shipyard, probably doing many things, but maybe there are things which can be, it's a different way of subcontracting, but if it can be assured that there can be 10 small yards or 10 small block builders who can be extremely efficient in their panel lane, if they can make things ready for shipyard to integrate, because shipbuilding is actually, I think the most complicated part is in integrating. It's not a rocket science when we actually look at it in parts. So if we can identify the capacity that is existing, L&T, it's an amazing facility. But if we can really create an ecosystem which can supply to the existing system to integrate, I think we can do much more than what we are doing. And that allows for small investors who are ready to set a small shop doing 100 tons a month, or only doing painting. For example, if you are supplying to the market, painting itself is a big task. It can be pipe fabrication. So we can actually look at shipbuilding in a kind of cluster way than just building the entire shipbuilding. So maybe that can be one formula.
That's definitely a point of discussion. But again, at that point of time, then if we touch upon the business side of it, there is the risk-taking is not shared. The risk-taking, if there's a failure of a smaller guy, the bigger guy could fail big time. So the risk-taking is not shared, because that's going to be the cautious part of it, because definitely you can work as a cluster, but again, there is always an anchor or a lead company which will have to come in and play that game. Maybe we have time for one more question, the last question. Please.
Yeah, my name is... Working? Yeah, my name is Anuj Sahai, and I'm from Singapore. I've been in the industry for about 40 years, so I've been watching for years shipbuilding that has been going on in India. I attended in Garden Reach, in Visakhapatnam, in Cochin Shipyard. I saw the ships being built in early 80s. How does it that China, which actually started shipbuilding after India, today is building about 750 ships every year for the next 5 years, right? I'm sure you will have data, 750 ships, 3,000 ships till 2028. We're talking about building 20 ships, and that also seems like a struggle at the moment. Have we done any case study or something to figure out what actually Chinese do that we cannot do?
I think this specific point is what is led to all these discussions today. What is Maritime India vision and Maritime Amritkal vision and all these narratives that's being built up is all coming from this particular question. Why did we miss it big time? But the fact is we have missed it big time. And it's not just shipbuilding, we have missed a lot of things. So we are aware that as a country, there are a lot of things which we have been able to ride the bandwagon, certain things which we have missed. And heavy engineering and shipbuilding is one large thing. So I think the lessons learned are fairly well documented, even though there could be various academic studies also. But I think right now, due to a set of reasons, these are all what is triggering the discussions of these days. And I hope 2025 we will have a fair bit of answers for the sense of direction India will take into the next 25 years or so.
I'll just 30 seconds, one case study. So in 2009, we got order for 36 interceptor boats from Coast Guard. Later on, that order was increased to 54. The Coast Guard gave us a time period of 10 years. We were ready to deliver in 5 years. That means 60 months, 54 boats. One boat every month for 1.25 months. So as a nation, as a yards, we have this capability. So since you spoke about China or South Korea, they make all standard ships, one after another, series ships. If we get such kind of opportunities, I think all of us, because the learning cycle will kick in and we will be able to deliver. We don't have doubt in that. Thank you.
Just one thing, the shipbuilding has changed now. Standard design is equal to speed, and that is the principle, right? But with MEPC 83, with decarbonization, with that pressure, they're modular fuel designs. So you really cannot have the Xerox copies anymore. Largely you can, but still there has to be a lot of modulation. And that is also an opportunity.
That's also an opportunity.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about decarbonization today, but the cost of compliance will be much more than cost of fuel.
So I think thanks to the audience, thanks to the panelists, we had a good discussion, largely positive, cautions. I hope Riyadh would be a bit more older, but I'm sure that he will have a conclave here 20, 30, 31. Probably if you're all around, we can try to gather here once again and see where the proof of the pudding is. Thanks a lot. Thank you.